Goodbye. Forever. The girl I loved more than anyone, if she were still in this world, would be just like any other girl her age, in the prime of her life, shining with a brilliance all her own. I'm starting to forget the sound of your voice, the way you looked, even the expression on your face when you vanished from my life so completely. So, I come to find you. Emma Miller and I grew up together. I was always the guy who had it all, brains and looks, and the love letters started piling up in middle school. Emma, on the other hand, was the girl everyone agreed was the most beautiful in school. We were both always at the top of our class, as if the threads of fate had woven us together from the very beginning, keeping us in the same classroom since kindergarten. My parents were both teachers and were always strict with me, but I had a rebellious, playful streak deep down. Emma, though, was incredibly driven, even as a kid. From elementary school all the way through high school, she was always number one in our class, consistently ranked in the top 3 of the entire school. I always acted like a carefree slacker, but I hid a sensitive side that no one knew about. The year Emma turned 12, her father, Mr. Miller, died unexpectedly. She had adored her, and his sudden death was a devastating blow, leaving a wound in her heart that would never heal. While her family thought she was moving past the grief, I was the only one who sensed that something was terribly wrong. I was the one who found her, more than once, after she had come home, locked her bedroom door, and hurt herself with a utility knife. Our families lived right next to each other. It was the winter break of our freshman year, 1997, and Emma's mom was away on a business trip, so my mom asked me to take some food over. I called her name from the porch for a long time, but got no answer. Panicking, I remembered the spare key under the mat and let myself in. Anyone home? Emma. I set the container on the living room table and walked toward her room, noticing a sliver of light from under the door. I tried calling her name again. Emma. Still nothing. I pressed my ear to the door and could just barely make out the sound of faint sobbing inside. I yelled, "Emma Miller, what's wrong? Open the door." "Stay out," she cried back, her voice breaking. I hammered on the door in a panic, and after what felt like an eternity, I kicked it in. I burst into the room. It was the dead of winter, and Emma was kneeling on the cold floor in a thin white nightgown. A shattered picture frame, a photo of her and her dad, lay on the ground, glass scattered everywhere. Her nightgown was stained with blood from the cuts the glass had made on her skin. The sight was horrifying. In that instant, it felt like my heart was being ripped from my chest as I rushed forward and pulled her into a tight embrace. It's okay. I'm here now. I'm here," I whispered, holding her. I know you miss your dad. I've always known." After calming her down, I helped her back into bed. I cleaned up the broken glass and the ruined photo, then sat beside her and carefully tended to her cuts. When I saw the network of scars on her arm, a dense pattern of old lines and fresh cuts, my heart seized up and my eyes immediately welled with tears. "Does it hurt?" I asked, a single hot tear falling from my eye onto the palm of her hand. She looked at me in disbelief, unable to process that I, the guy who never took anything seriously, was crying just from the sight of her pain. Even her own mother, Helen, probably wouldn't have cried. She would have just pretended not to see, because she always favored her little brother, Tommy. Emma, flustered, reached up to wipe my tears away, forcing a smile. "It doesn't hurt," she said. "Can you promise you won't tell anyone about this? Especially not my grandma. I don't want to worry her." "You're a terrible liar," I said. "I know it hurts, but you're acting like it's nothing." "Emma, why are you always like this? You've always made me worry, ever since we were kids, bottling everything up whenever you're hurting. Listen to me. You don't have to be so strong all the time. Not with me. I won't tell your grandma. My mom sent over some food. Make sure you heat it up. Get some rest. I'm going now, but call me if you need anything." "Okay," she whispered. I stepped out and gently closed her door, whispering to myself, "You idiot. All you think about is not worrying your grandma. But don't you have any idea how much you worry me? If you ever do this again, I swear I'll tell her, and then I'll tie your hands behind her back so you can't." I was genuinely terrified today. When the door wouldn't budge, I was frantic, scared she would do something irreversible, scared I would lose her forever. What would have happened if I'd been just a minute later? I couldn't bear to think about it. The guy who was always laid back and never stressed, was actually shaking with fear. Back in her room, any sleepiness Emma might have felt was gone. She stared at the ceiling, memories washing over her. For as long as she could remember, her mother, Helen, had never shown any affection for her or her father. When she was little, she didn't understand why and assumed it was because she wasn't smart enough. So she threw herself into her studies, winning writing awards while other kids were still on the playground. But no matter how well she did, her mother's coldness never changed. It wasn't until her brother, Tommy, was born that she finally understood some things can't be earned, no matter how hard you try. Years later, she overheard a conversation that finally explained the source of her mother's coldness. Before she met Emma's father, Helen had been deeply in love with a man named Thomas Wright. But when they were ready to get married, their families fiercely objected and forced them apart. Helen was pushed into a marriage with Emma's father, an arrangement made by her own mother, Mrs. White. Thomas Wright left town, and no one ever heard from him again. From that day on, Helen blamed both her husband and her mother for her heartbreak, and she never showed Mr. Miller a moment of kindness, not even up to the day he died. When Emma was born, Helen barely looked at her or her husband. She had been so devastated about the pregnancy that she had even contemplated ending her own life. It was only because Mr. Miller pleaded with her, promising she could leave him as soon as the baby was born, that she went through with it. But in the end, they never divorced. Years later, Thomas Wright came back to town, and he and Helen rekindled their affair, meeting in secret since her mother would never approve. Mr. Miller became an unwitting cover for them, and for Emma's sake, he never brought up divorce. Thomas returned with a pregnant woman, which devastated Helen. But the woman later died during childbirth, and one night, a drunk and grieving Thomas showed up at their door. He ignored little Emma, who had fallen nearby, and pulled Helen into a desperate embrace. Just then, Mr. Miller walked in with groceries and saw them. He didn't say a word. He just quietly picked his daughter up off the floor as Helen and Thomas walked out the door together. After that night, Mr. Miller never shared a bed with his wife again, but it wasn't long before Helen was pregnant. Then came Tommy. It all made sense. Tommy, named for Thomas, the shadow of one man cast over two lives. After Tommy was born, Helen, who had never shown any interest in children, doted on him, taking him with her everywhere she went. Emma never expected an ounce of motherly love from Helen again. Whenever anyone talked about a mother's love, she would just offer a sad, quiet smile. At least she still had her father and her grandmother, who loved her dearly. Except her father was gone now. "Dad, what am I supposed to do? I miss you so much," she whispered into the darkness. She cried all night, soaking her pillow with tears, not falling asleep until the first light of dawn broke the horizon. Maybe it was after that night that her feelings for me started to grow into something more than friendship. What she didn't know was that mine already had. Finally, on July 16th, 1998, I told Emma how I felt. She hesitated, filled with self-doubt, wondering what I could possibly see in her. She was scared it was just a joke, and even more terrified that I would discover the secret feelings she had for me. That night, I asked Emma to go for a walk down by the Santa Monica Pier. She didn't think anything of it, just grabbed a jacket and met me outside. We walked along the beach for a long time, the ocean breeze in our hair. Then I stopped, turned to face her, and pulled out a small bouquet of forget-me-nots I had hidden. I found out later their meaning is eternal love and remembrance. "Emma, I like you. A lot. Will you be my girlfriend? You don't have to answer right now. You can think about it. And if you don't feel the same, that's okay too." Before I could finish my rambling sentence, I heard her soft voice say, "Ethan, I like you too." In the end, Emma listened to her heart. She decided that even if this was all some kind of trap, she was willing to fall into it. But it wasn't a trap. I had never been more sincere in my life. For real, I stammered. "For real, Ethan," she confirmed. Just then, a brilliant firework exploded in the night sky above us, and we held each other tightly under its cascading light. In 1999, right before the SATs, our parents found out about us. Emma's mother was the first to storm the school. She burst into the counselor's office and slapped Emma hard across the face. The sound echoed in the small room. "Emma," I yelled, but she was hit again. "You're a disgrace. At your age, learning how to seduce boys. I'll teach you a lesson today, one that will make you worthy of your father's memory." "Mom, stop it. That's enough," Emma cried. "How dare you yell at me? Do you have any idea how hard my life is without your father? I work myself to the bone for you and Tommy. He's just a little boy. Can't you be considerate for once and stop causing me trouble? Let's go. We're going to your father's grave right now, and you're going to kneel and beg for his forgiveness." She lunged forward to grab Emma's arm. I jumped in front of Emma immediately. "Mrs. Miller, this is all my fault. Don't blame her. I'm the one who pursued her. It has nothing to do with Emma. If you can hit someone, hit me. Just leave her alone." Their teacher, Ms. Lewis, stepped in to mediate. "Mrs. Miller, please calm down. This isn't the way. It's perfectly normal for kids their age to date. If you just talk to her, I'm sure she'll listen." Just then, my parents arrived. They walked in to see Helen screaming at Emma, whose cheek was already red and swollen. My mom rushed over and put a protective arm around Emma. "Helen, please," my mom said, No matter how angry you are, you can't hit her. I can't take it anymore." Helen sobbed. She ignores everything good and just chases after boys. I don't need her to be a genius. I just need her to focus on school, so I have one less thing to worry about. I'm so tired. With her father gone, everything falls on me. Everything. We ended up getting suspended for a week. Helen insisted the school transfer Emma to a different homeroom, putting several classes between us. Our parents took our phones, cutting off all contact. Back home, I refused to eat, protesting their demand that I break up with her. My father dragged me into his study, forced me to my knees, and started hitting my back with a wooden cane. 1, 2, 3. He counted between strikes. "Will you break up with her?" "No," I gasped. "I won't." The cane came down again, harder this time. Will you?" "Never. You can kill me, but I will never leave her." My mother couldn't stand it anymore and rushed in. "Robert, stop. You'll kill him. If you kill our son, I swear I'll never forgive you." My father threw the cane on the floor in disgust. "Let him kneel there and think about what he's done. And don't you dare bring him any food. Let him starve." He stormed out, leaving my mom crying beside me. "Ethan," she said softly, "I know you love Emma, but this isn't the right time. When you're both a little older, in college, I promise I won't stand in your way. But the SATs are right around the corner. This is a critical moment for your future. You can't afford any distractions. You have to think about what's best for both of you." Meanwhile, at Emma's house, Helen took her phone and, right in front of her, deleted my number and all her messages. "Mom," Emma pleaded, "do you even consider me your mother? If you do, you will never contact him again. Emma, listen to me. This is your last chance. If you disobey me, after graduation, I will send you to a school in Europe and you will never come back. You will never see him again." "I'm sorry, Mom. I was wrong," Emma whispered. "I won't. I'll never bother him again." "Good. See that you don't. Don't let me find out you've contacted him, or you know what will happen. Here's a different phone. It only has my number in it. I have to go meet a client. Stay home and look after your brother." "I will," Emma said. Just then, the house phone rang. Emma heard her mother answer. "Hello? Oh, hi. Yes. Bring Tommy tomorrow. He's been dying to go to Disneyland. Why don't you come over tonight first? It's been too long. I've missed you like crazy." Her mother's voice softened. "Okay, I'll be there in 10. Emma heard every word of her mother's conversation. She didn't want to hear anymore. She got up, went to her room, and locked the door. She opened her desk drawer, took out the small blade, and with a blank expression, began to cut into her own arm. Silent tears streamed down her face, but her hand never faltered. A little while later, she lay down on her bed and whispered, "Dad, I miss you so much." The next morning, Helen came home before sunrise and quietly carried a sleeping Tommy out of the house. Emma wasn't asleep, but she pretended to be. She knew what was happening. Her mother's perfect little family of 3 was going on another trip. It had happened so many times since her dad died. Helen would say it was for work, but Emma knew she was taking Tommy on vacation with her lover. She understood it all. They didn't have to lie. If Helen wanted to be with her new family, she could just do it. She didn't have to hide or pretend to care about Emma. Emma had always understood. With that thought, she drifted into a heavy, restless sleep, only to be woken by a knock at the front door. "Knock, knock." "Coming," she called out, opening the door. "Grandma, what are you doing here?" "Oh, my dear girl," her grandmother said, her voice full of sympathy. "You've been through so much." "No, Grandma, I'm fine, really," Emma said, her eyes red from crying, as she fell into her grandmother's embrace. "You're just like your father, never saying a word when you're hurting," her grandmother said, stroking her hair. "Don't cry, sweetheart. Grandma's here now. No one's going to hurt my girl anymore." Mrs. White went into the kitchen, and soon the house was filled with the smell of a home-cooked meal. "Sweetheart, lunch is ready," she called. "Coming, Grandma," Emma replied, emerging from her room. She sat at the table and began to eat ravenously while her grandmother watched her with a gentle, loving smile. She loved Tommy, of course, but her heart ached for Emma. She knew her own daughter, Helen, felt nothing for the girl, even though Emma had worked herself to the bone her whole life just for a single glance of approval, a glance that never came. Mr. Miller had loved his daughter deeply, but his work kept him away often. So was Emma's grandmother, who had raised her for the most part. Slow down, there's plenty more," her grandmother chuckled. "This is amazing, Grandma. You have to sit down and have some," Emma said between bites. "After you finish your exams, I want you to come live with me. I'll stay here with you until then, and afterward, we can go back to my place." "How does that sound, sweetheart?" "Okay," Emma agreed. For the rest of the semester, right up until the last day of finals, Emma's grandmother was by her side, driving her to and from school every day. She gave Emma all the motherly love she had never received from Helen. During that time, Emma and I never spoke. We barely even saw each other in the hallways. Then, on the Saturday night before final exams, Emma got a call from a blocked number, but it was a number she knew by heart. She had no idea how I'd gotten her new phone number, but after a moment's hesitation, she answered. The line was silent for a long moment before she heard my voice, thick with emotion. Emma, just wait a little longer. Wait for me to get into college. I'll take you away from all this. You just have to wait for me. Emma didn't say anything. She just pressed her hand hard against her mouth to stifle a sob, tears streaming down her face. She wished she could freeze time in that moment, just to keep listening to the sound of my voice, never having to hang up. Just then, Helen pushed the door open. Emma quickly ended the call. Seeing her daughter's tear-stained face, Helen knew instantly what had happened. Emma Miller, have you forgotten every single thing I said to you? I asked for so little. Just get into a good college. That's all. Is that too much? You are going to drive me to an early grave. Give me the phone. Now. When Emma refused, Helen slapped her across the face, snatched the phone, and hit redial. I answered. Tell him it's over. Helen hissed at Emma. Someone like you, you're not just ruining your own life. You're dragging him down too. His parents have such high hopes for him. Don't be so selfish that you destroy his future along with your own. Tell him you're breaking up. Did you hear me? Hello, Emma. I said into the phone. Emma was silent. Her mother muted the call and screamed at her. Say something. Have you lost your voice? Or do you want me to do it for you? Because I promise you, what I have to say will be much, much worse. My voice came through the phone again. Emma, what's going on? Please talk to me. Helen unmuted the phone. We should break up, Emma said, her voice flat. Why? I asked, confused. There's no reason. We just shouldn't see each other anymore. With that, she hung up. I'm taking this, Helen said, pocketing the phone. You can have it back after your finals. Focus on your studies. Don't think about anything else. She walked out, slamming the door behind her. The room fell silent, and Emma collapsed to the floor, sobbing without a sound. That evening, Helen left again with Tommy. Earlier that day, Emma's uncle had picked up her grandmother for a cousin's birthday party, but Emma hadn't been invited. Her grandmother had wanted her to come, but Emma had used studying as an excuse to stay home. Now, she was completely alone. She tried to study, but the words on the page were a blur. Frustrated, she closed the book, grabbed her keys, and left the house. She walked aimlessly through the crowded streets until she found herself back at the beach, the very spot where we had held each other and promised we would be together forever. The cold ocean wind whipped at her face, and fresh tears began to fall. Suddenly, she saw someone. The moment she recognized me, she turned to run, but I'd seen her too. I stumbled towards her, drunk and unsteady, and pulled her into my arms. It is you. It's really you, I slurred. Ethan, let go of me, she struggled. I knew it, I said, holding on tighter. I knew you wouldn't just leave me. I said, let go. I don't like you anymore. Don't you get it? We're not right for each other. Emma yelled, shoving me away with all her strength. Emma, I don't believe you. I pleaded. Your mother forced you to say that, didn't she? Just tell me the truth. What more do you want from me? She shot back. To say I don't like you? To say that everything between us was a lie? Is that what you want to hear? Will that make you happy? She turned to leave. Emma, I don't believe you ever stopped loving me. I yelled after her. She stopped and turned back. You're wrong. I never loved you in the first place. Are you satisfied now? Can you just let me go? She said the cruelest things, but her stumbling steps and trembling frame as she walked away told a different story. She could lie to me, but she couldn't lie to her own heart. She thought she was giving me a better future by letting me go, not realizing that my future was meaningless without her. I believe we could face anything together, but that was just me. My desperate pleas couldn't change her resolve. Emma ran all the way home, bolted the door, and collapsed sobbing. She wanted so badly to tell me it was all a lie, but she couldn't. She couldn't be that selfish. I was destined for great things, and she refused to be the one to hold me back. As she reached for a glass of water, it slipped from her trembling hand and shattered on the floor, and then she too fell unconscious. When she woke up, she was in a hospital bed. Grandma, where am I? How did I get here? I was at home. Her grandmother wiped a tear from her eye. It's all right, sweetheart. You just had a little bug and fainted from low blood sugar. A neighbor found you and brought you here. You'll be able to go home after a little rest. Grandma, if I'm fine, why are you crying? Emma said, reaching up to wipe her grandmother's cheek. Okay, I was just so worried. You're right. You rest now, and I'll go get you something to eat. Okay, could you get me some soup? Of course, sweetheart. Emma closed her eyes as her grandmother left. A few moments later, a doctor entered the room. Are you Emma Miller's guardian? He asked. Could I speak with you outside for a moment? Her condition is a bit complex. Yes, doctor, that's me, her grandmother replied, following him into the hall. Mrs. White, your granddaughter's collapse wasn't caused by low blood sugar. I'm afraid she has brain cancer. The news hit her like a physical blow. Her knees buckled and she sank to the floor, grabbing the doctor's coat. "No, you must be mistaken," she sobbed. "My granddaughter is so young. How could she have cancer? Please, doctor, you have to run the test again. You must be wrong." A nurse helped the doctor lift Mrs. White back to her feet. "Ma'am, please try to calm down. I'm so sorry, but her condition is very advanced. Because we caught it so late, it's terminal. She has 2 to 3 months at most, given the nature of her illness. The final stages will be very painful. We recommend admitting her as soon as possible to manage her symptoms." My poor girl. Her grandmother wept, nearly collapsing again if not for the nurse holding her up. "Her father is gone. What am I going to do?" The doctor nodded to the nurse. "Please, take her down the hall so she can sit down." The nurse gently guided Mrs. White to a chair and sat with her, offering quiet words of comfort. Back in the room, Emma, who had only been pretending to sleep, had heard everything. Tears streamed silently down her cheeks. A strange mix of relief and sorrow washed over her. Relief, because she would finally be free from this painful world. And sorrow, because she couldn't bear the thought of leaving her grandmother or the thought of leaving me. Her grandmother decided to keep the diagnosis a secret, and Emma decided to pretend she didn't know. When Mrs. White returned with the soup, she couldn't stop the tears from falling as she watched Emma eat. Emma pretended not to notice, keeping her head down, but her own tears dripped silently into the bowl. "Grandma, this soup is delicious," she said with a bright, fake smile. In reality, it tasted of nothing but salt. Time flew by, and soon it was graduation day, June 9th, 1999. Her grandmother didn't want her to go to the ceremony, but Emma insisted. After it was over, our class gathered on the front steps for one last photo together. That was the last time I ever saw her. "Look this way. 1, 2, 3. Say cheese," the photographer called. By then, Emma was so weak she needed a wheelchair to get around. But she refused to use it for the photo, not wanting me to see. Instead, she had a friend help her stand. The few people who knew what was happening had tears in their eyes. Even our stern teacher, Ms. Lewis, was trying to hide the fact that she'd been crying. That was the last time she saw me. I looked awful, my hair was a mess, and I hadn't shaved in days. Her heart ached for me, but there was nothing she could do. She wanted to walk over and hug me, but she didn't have the strength to even stand on her own. She didn't want me to see her like this, so frail. It was better, she thought, to let me remember her as she was. No, it was better for me to forget her completely, to erase any memory that a girl like her had ever been a part of my life. On July 27th, 1999, the acceptance letters arrived. Emma got into Harvard, the school we had always dreamed of attending together. But she would never go. By then, she was too weak to even get out of bed, confined to a room at the hospice center. After Helen learned of the diagnosis, she started acting like a mother, bringing Emma snacks and reading to her. Tommy would visit and tell her about his day. But it was too little, too late. She asked Ms. Lewis about my scores and learned that I hadn't done well enough to get in anywhere good. That night, after everyone else was asleep, she fought to stay awake, found her phone, and made a call to my parents. Then, she sent me a single iMessage. It just said, "I'm waiting for you." I was in my room, mindlessly playing video games, when a message came through. I almost ignored it, but my thumb slipped and opened it. 4 words. "I'm waiting for you." I figured it was a prank and was about to close it, but something made me pause. I stared at the screen for a long time. It had to be her. I tentatively typed back, "Is that you?" The reply was almost instant. "It's me. Do you remember what you promised me?" I remembered. I had promised her we would go to Harvard together. "Does that promise still stand?" she asked. I didn't want to text anymore. I just called her. "Miss Miller," I said, trying to sound lighthearted. "With my SAT scores, I'd be lucky to get into community college. How am I supposed to get into Harvard?" I heard her cough on the other end. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Nothing," she rasped. "Just a little cold." There was a pause. "I'm sorry, Ethan," she said. "For what?" "For what I said to you on the beach." "I'm sorry. I thought my mom was right. That I was just holding you back. You always were a little arrogant." I laughed. "It's okay. I forgive you." She started coughing again, a deep, rattling sound. "Are you sure you're okay?" "I'm fine," she insisted between coughs. "You should see a doctor tomorrow." "Okay," she agreed. We talked for hours that night, and it felt like all the distance between us had melted away. "I want to see you," I said. "Better not," she joked weakly. "It's late. I'd probably scare you." "No, you wouldn't." "Yes, I would." "Can I see you tomorrow, then?" "You'll see me when you get into Harvard," she replied. "Okay," I said. "Then you have to promise you'll wait for me." "I promise." A wave of sadness washed over her. She wanted to wait for me, but she knew she was dying. "It's getting late. I should sleep," she said abruptly. "Okay. Good night, then." "Good night. Bye." "Bye." We kept saying goodbye, like a couple of kids who didn't want to hang up. See you later, I said. See you never, she replied. Her words were a joke, but they were also the absolute truth, and the thought was unbearable. After that night, I never heard from her again. My texts went unanswered. One day, I randomly opened Instagram and, on a whim, sent her a DM. You there? An automated reply came back instantly. Her bio, waiting for you at Harvard. The days turned into weeks. One afternoon, while I was studying, I felt a sudden, sharp pain in my chest as if my heart had been squeezed. A moment later, the clear blue sky opened up and a torrential downpour began. I walked to my window and looked at the little charm she had given me, a good luck charm for sunny weather, now whipping around in the wind and rain. On the TV, the weatherman announced that this would be the last big storm of the season. It felt like the world was saying goodbye. At the hospice, Emma, who had just undergone a procedure the day before, went into cardiac arrest and was rushed into emergency care. As her consciousness faded, she saw me, she saw her grandmother, and she saw her father waiting for her. Dad, she thought, are you here to take me home? I missed you so much. She ran to him, and he wrapped her in his arms. And then, she was gone. 3 months after Emma died, her grandmother, Mrs. White, took her own life. In a note she left behind, she wrote, my dear girl was always so scared of being alone. I have to go find her. I have to be with her. In 2000, after a year of intense studying, I got into Harvard. The first thing I did when I got to campus was look for Emma Miller in the student directory, but there was no record of her. I didn't believe it. I drove home to find both my parents waiting for me. They knew what I'd come to ask. My mother said nothing, just handed me an old phone. It contained a video and an audio file from Emma. I pressed play on the video. Ethan, she began, her voice a fragile whisper. By the time you see this, I'll be gone. Please don't be angry with your parents. This was all my idea. The girl on the screen was almost unrecognizable. She was gaunt, wearing a beanie to cover her head, where her hair had fallen out from chemo. I got sick. It's very serious. The doctor said there wasn't much they could do. I'm sorry I can't be with you. I promised myself I wouldn't cry, but look at me, she said, trying to laugh through her tears. You have to promise me you won't cry either. You have to be strong. Don't be sad. Just pretend I'm off somewhere, fighting monsters. You have to smile for me, okay? She couldn't finish before she broke down completely, covering her face. But I don't want to die, she sobbed. I want to be with you. I haven't even seen you become a pilot yet. I haven't. The video cut off. Beneath the video was an audio file. With a shaking hand, I pressed play. Ethan, I'm so selfish, her voice said. Part of me wants you to remember me forever, and part of me wants you to forget me completely. If there's a next life, I want to be with you again. I'm so sorry, Ethan. Please just forget me. There was a long pause, and then her voice came back, barely a whisper. I'm about to go into surgery. If I make it, I'll come find you. If I don't, you have to forget me. She knew there was no chance, but she said it anyway, trying to give me one last impossible piece of hope. I finished listening and clutched my chest, a pain so sharp it felt like my heart was tearing in two. The next day, I brought a bouquet of forget-me-nots to her grave. The same flowers I had given her the night I first told her I loved her. I placed them by the headstone and looked at her picture. Her smile was as bright as the sun. I traced the outline of her face on the cold photograph, then fell to my knees and wept. After that day, something in me changed. I became more focused, more serious. I threw myself into my studies, graduated from Harvard 4 years later, and immediately enlisted in the Air Force, becoming a pilot. One day, during a break in training, a fellow airman, Corporal Green, asked me, Carter, why are you always staring at that old locket? It's my girlfriend, I told him. Ah, that explains it, he said. Is that why you take leave on the same day, every year? To go see her? Yeah. So how old is she, he asked. She's 17, I said. If she were still alive, she'd be 24, same as me. Green didn't say anything else. He just clapped me on the shoulder, a silent gesture of understanding. In 2008, during a combat mission, I took down 2 enemy aircraft before my own wing was damaged. My plane went down. I died in the crash, a hero, at the age of 27. They found my body in a field blanketed with wild forget-me-nots. When the recovery team reached my remains, they found me with a peaceful smile on my face, my hand still clutching the locket with her picture inside. He missed his girl. So, 10 years after she left this world, he went to find her, his duty done. Ethan Carter and Emma Miller. A love for a lifetime, faithful beyond death. Their time in this life was over, but their souls would find each other in the next, forever intertwined.